Hi, welcome back to the God of Onions. I am the host and creator of God of Onions as well as the owner of House of Hetal, a brand that sells art and lifestyle products. In the previous episode, we had explored the journey of Sanjana Chetlani, also known as the founder of Bombay Lettering Company. Sanjana is a well-known calligrapher, lettering artist, designer, and entrepreneur. To check the interview, y'all can head over to my Spotify channel called as God of Onions. So God of Onions is something which I've started in the month of April. It's very fresh, very new, and I had started with interviewing Paul Antonio, where he's a well-renowned calligrapher based out of London, where he writes for the Queen of England himself. And today we have with us Hetal Shukla, a well-known interior designer turned artist, also known for his unique contemporary installations. He has exhibited in places such as Kala Ghoda Art Festival, Institute of Social Science at Hague, Netherlands, and has also worked for clients such as Gail, India, Google, Redbull, Aditya Birla, Garware, and many more. So I'm going to be adding Hetal Shukla to this live, guys. Welcome, Hetal. Welcome to the God of Onions episode 3. And we are honored to have you at our platform. And I think I'm going to start asking you questions. And followed by, I would love to ask about the painting which is behind you later and in the end. So, my first question for you is that how do you define yourself and your art?
So, uh, I belong to the category of artists who call themselves conceptual artists. And the reason being, I think, gone are the days when only a particular skill was considered as an art form. I think we are into an era where there's a lot of automation and we've evolved into newer mediums, uh, computing and stuff like that. So the idea or the ideation is actually where the art lies now, than the skill part of it.
True.
And so I really believe that the big idea actually becomes the art. And so conceptual art is what I consider myself, uh, that I belong to.
Lovely.
For example, the Lal Gadi that we were talking about. Yeah. So this car was called Lal, and it was exhibited at Kala Ghoda Festival. And this car is completely covered with kumkum. It's not red color; it is kumkum. This was actually inspired by a news item. It's yeah. It's based on the story behind our late Prime Minister Lal Bahadur Shastri. When Shastriji was a prime minister, he had bought a car on loan, and he had to. So after his death, his wife repaid the entire loan, facing hardships, but she kept her husband's word, and that's what the commitment to her husband's word is what this car is dedicated to. And so it's covered with kumkum, which is kumkum being a symbol of the bond between
Husband and wife.
the husband and the wife.
Lovely.
And also kumkum happens to be red, and that connects with Lal Bahadur. So by conceptual art, I mean, there's a kind of a concept, a story, sort of a storytelling behind the art installation, and that's what is my sort of a favorite style of illustrating an idea.
Lovely.
So I also have a write up. I also have a write up on my artwork every time.
Yes.
My commitment is to communicate the idea so clearly that it has a wider range of audience. An artist, an intellectual who wants to appreciate finer parts of the artwork can also engage himself. And even, I also include a roadside vendor who's just passing by, and he also can connect to it, if he pays a little bit of attention. So that's what my effort is always.
Wow. I think all of us can connect with your art. already. So, yes, that's true. And I think I had met you the first time when you had actually showcased the Lal Gadi itself. So, yes,
Right. I
yeah.
remember.
So, my next question, where do you draw your inspiration from?
Uh, I think inspiration is everywhere, but usually something which impacts me deeply uh, finally becomes the artwork. So it's not always that I start with an idea of making an artwork, but something that sticks to your mind for a longer time, a thought that's lingering for many days, finally becomes an expression in the form of artwork. I feel those stories are worth telling. Rather than conceptually talking, I think I'll give an example. There's a green colored car
Yes,
there. This
seen
one
on the
was
screen.
also put up at, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's good enough. So this particular car is half covered with green grass, and the other half is the military camouflage. Now, uh, the idea behind this car, it's called
Yes,
nationalist or naturalist.
lovely.
Now, the idea behind this car originated in Kashmir. So I was on a vacation, uh, and this was summer in Kashmir. So the the entire landscape was green, and we were kind of moving around Kashmir in a cab. And I remember this one day, I was just admiring the green. There's a particular very soothing and a blissful green color that you see the on the mountains and the lawns there. So I was admiring this green, and uh, suddenly it was the feeling, the divine feeling of the natural green it was suddenly interrupted by a presence of a military van inside of that landscape. And it was kind of a jerk that I felt, and I continued seeing the landscape again. And it so happened that at every 5 minutes, you either see a soldier, uh, kind of standing, or a military van there. So the camouflage pattern was regularly interrupting the soothing landscape, and there was a kind of a flux happening in my mind of you know the 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 military fabric reminds you of the feeling of war and killing and stuff like that. So it's a disturbing sight. So it was a kind of a flux between the serene landscape and the disturbing camouflage happening there, and that really inspired this piece. And so I wrote a poem called Green on it.
Wow.
So there are two kinds of green showing here. One is the natural green, that's the
Yes,
grass, and the other is the man-made green, which is the military green. And it questions the idea of war here. Uh, you know,
lovely.
so and being a nationalist is a good thing, but this actually questions, should I be a nationalist? Which is, if I'm being a nationalist, I'm obviously against some other country as well. So, or should I be naturalist and consider the
Whole
whole
world.
world
Yes,
my
true, true, true.
country? So it's that sort
Would
of a
you like
thought
me to read the
process.
poem?
So, yeah, I think that'll be great
Okay.
because I don't remember it offhand. But yeah, I think that'll be great if
I
you can do
think a
that.
lot of people are
Please.
saying lovely and amazing with your concepts with the ambassadors. So I'm going to read the poem for the, green. Yes.
Yes.
So the name of the poem or the name of the artwork is Nationalist or Naturalist. It's a green poem this time. This green color makes me think two shades of the same color. There is a landscape green, and then there is military green. One is natural, the other is man made. One connects us to the serene beauty, the other to a war. This green color makes me think, can we win a war by killing our own species? We dream of a world beautiful, seamless, and lush green, but divided with a military. Should I be a nationalist or a naturalist? It surely makes me think. So this is
Thank you.
what the artwork
That
is.
was lovely. And fortunately, the theme for the entire event of Kala Ghoda that particular year was also green, and it kind of all fell into the place. So with art, it's not always planned, but you see these bits and pieces of miracle happening along the journey of art, and that's what makes it exciting. You think of it in Kashmir, you come back, you write it down, you make it into an artwork, and you suddenly realize that the theme
Wow.
that year is green, and it kind of all falls in
I think
place.
the same
So yeah,
frequencies connect always.
yes,
Yes.
I agree.
So I think I'll start with my third question. Your
Sure.
artwork is unique as the one which we saw in the previous, the lush green, the nationalist and naturalist. How do you execute these
Right.
ideas? I think you have almost answered it, but do you have some more where how you execute them?
So for me, it's not always a spontaneous sort of a spontaneous effort. Like you have a blank canvas and you start on
Yes,
it. It's not always that. It does happen, but it happens in the canvas of my mind first,
lovely.
and then it is executed. So all the um, sort of inhibitions and the confidence and all those complex emotions actually happen in the mind first about an idea.
True.
And I think the canvas of mind is a very, very delicate space because while you're thinking of something and someone just calls for your attention and the entire castle of thought can break there and then you can't even find the brick that you were
True,
working on.
true.
So Uh, so I would say the process is quite complex, but it's very exciting because as you see, I always write down uh, explaining my artwork. So I also look for the right words to hit the right note. But my artwork always starts with a feeling, and so if I'm excited about an idea or a feeling, then I have to go deeper into that feeling and try and sort of deconstruct that uh, uh, feeling or the emotion to see where the spark of inspiration lies. And being an artist, I think it's a responsibility of the artist to uh, give it in a pure form. The inspiration that has excited you, to give it in the pure form to the world, and that's where the work
Wow.
lies. So it's a very yeah. So it's a very uh, delicate work and lot of back and forth of words, thoughts, and coming together of the idea. And after that is done, it comes in the physical form. In my case, it could be an ambassador car or any other medium that suits
Lovely.
the whole idea. So I would like to show one artwork. It's called the Sky
Yes.
Project. Just as an example, uh, in fact, I was trying to, yeah, if you can blow it up and show, the,
Which one? Which part of it?
and there's also my imaginary,
From
yeah,
here, the start?
the top part where you, no, 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 on the
This
left,
side.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yes. So this is an installation in a gallery. The picture is quite old. It was this installation was done in 2005, I think. Yeah, 2005, and it's a long pipe placed in a gallery, and the figure that you see is me standing close to the pipe, looking into the pipe. So this
Right here.
installation was called yes, this was called the Sky Project, and the idea behind this started with so we live on the first floor. I stay in a very old, more than probably 120-year-old building, and in 2005 till 2005 I remember I would get the sunlight directly in my balcony. And then for some project, I went to Delhi, probably for 2 or 3 months. And when I returned, I saw there was a huge building standing right in front of my old, you know, one-story kind of a old building. And this was like a gigantic structure blocking the entire uh, sun, sky. And I mean, I was just shocked to see this gigantic structure right in front of my house. I didn't like it. And again, the feeling kept lingering in my mind and it became an art installation. So this exhibition was put up at a gallery in Pune. It was called the Vaishvik Art Gallery. And so what I have here is it's a 75 feet long pipe. It's almost a 1 foot diameter pipe that is placed inside a gallery. So basically, the experience was like you walk into the gallery, there was smoke at the foot level from the smoke machine. You go inside, you find this pipe staring at you. You look into the pipe and you see the sky. So the 75 feet long pipe was actually, traveling up till the terrace of the gallery, and this pipe had mirrors on the joints, almost like a periscope. So these mirrors actually reflected the live sky from the terrace, and it was bringing the sky down. So the whole idea was just like a futuristic thought that there will be a time when you the, won't be able to see the sky, and this is kind of a device to actually get a glimpse of sky, live sky. So it's kind of a satirical take on this whole thing of development of the cities. So it's kind of a reaction, yeah.
Wow.
So just wanted to share this idea.
Lovely, lovely. That's an amazing concept. I mean, it's beautiful. It's very, that's something which also creates awareness amongst us as well. And I think your artwork instigates a certain emotions in us while you also write them. So I think that's beautifully the message conveyed. Yes. So my next question to you is, do you often stay away from your original ideas and create a different outcome, or stick to a plan?
Uh, it works both ways. Um, but since I said I work with a concept, there is definitely some spark of inspiration that has actually uh, given you the energy to start off in first place.
True,
And
yes.
that idea basically remains the same. Uh, you just go deep down into that spark of inspiration and understand it. Because as much as you are excited about it, you also want to share it with the world. And to share it with the world, again, is a responsible thing. You need to get it into the words. The words have to fit in right for you to communicate, or even the object or the artwork has to strike the right note in the viewer's mind.
True.
I'm really inspired by Jeff Koons actually. So Jeff Koons was once asked, "Why do you do so much of detailing in your work when the sculpture is so big and no one is going to go on top of the sculpture and check it out?" He says, "I really respect the viewer." He says, "It's in the respect of the viewer that I work so much." And that's exactly what I believe in my work as well. That an idea has to be, uh, you know, communicated in a way that the viewer, also gets the same spark of inspiration that has actually ignited me. So
Wow.
uh, that's how it goes.
Amazing, amazing. That's truly amazing. Wow. So I think I'll go to my next question. How do you convey emotions through your art?
So when we talk about emotions, I would say I kind of rely on the Indian aesthetic um, theory of Navrasas. So there are 9 different emotions Navrasas defined already in our culture.
Yes.
So these Navrasas basically are a kind of a clear pathway for you to define. This theory of Navrasas helps you define the uh, the emotion behind an art form.
Yes.
And so in the beginning itself, I know the kind of note that I want to hit in the viewer's mind. Someone who's going to experience that art form. And so the emotion connected with uh, the art form is already defined. So it could be something triggering sadness, or happiness, or it's an inspirational thing, or so you define that in the beginning itself, and that can become uh, the thread or the guideline to actually complete the artwork, because it's a very messy sort of it's a messy mm, it's a messy mind that
True.
works on this idea,
The
right?
monkey
There's
mind.
so many
Yes.
so many things going
Yes.
on. So defining the emotion right in the beginning helps you to put the right things in right place, right words, and to create the right emotion. And you know what you want to let go of, because ideas come with a lot of thoughts. So you can let go of some of the thoughts and stick to that to make it crisp. And I think that's how the emotion can be defined, and then finally, it's exhibited in the artwork.
Lovely. I think that's beautifully said. And I think that's something which I never knew of. And a lot of us would have not known of. And I think we've learned a lot from that itself. Very interesting. Yes. So, my next question is how did you develop your art?
There was no planned way. So uh, I passed out from the School of Interior Design,
Yes.
and this was in yeah, and this was in 1996. So more than 20, I think almost 25 years plus.
Wow.
I'm very sensitive to the spaces, studying interior design, and I was leaning more towards the art. So I decided working on art for specific interior spaces, site-specific art, as you might call it. So kept doing that, and then um, so like I said, I'm a blend of like a pure art as an expression, and as well as um, um, there's a commercial angle to my work as
Yeah.
well. So I work with companies like Google, and a lot of these other corporate companies,
Lovely.
uh, because I believe if your thought process can start. Yeah. So if you have the
Yes,
image, we
I
can
have
show
the
it.
image.
Yes,
So, this
that's
is something which you have created for Google.
yeah. So that's a Google image. Yeah. And the second image that you see, yeah, it's actually a world map
I'm so
that I
sorry
did
about the
for
vision.
Google Earth
Yeah.
and Maps.
Wait, let me try
So that was
turning
done for
this.
Google Earth and
Is this
Maps.
more visible?
Yeah. Yeah, it is. It is.
Yeah.
So I'll make it clear, explaining it. So this was done for Google Earth and Maps, and here uh, so this was the first office of Google Earth and Maps in India.
Oh, wow.
And here the idea was the idea was to marry two different thoughts. One is the Earth and the map, and the technology that Google had got in. So I've also used material and the medium that talks for itself. So, for example, I've used the motherboards to create the world maps.
Interesting.
So a collection of motherboards, yeah, the cluster of motherboards actually looks like an aerial view of a city if you look at it closely, and it is finally forming a map. So it was basically marrying these two ideas of technology as well as Earth and maps. In fact, at Google, we also went on to name each wall. This is one of them. So this particular wall was named as Mother Earth meets Motherboard.
Interesting.
So it's kind of a sort of a conceptual story
Lovely.
coming together.
Lovely.
Yeah.
And you have worked for many other companies as well. So you have also worked, you've done Burj Khalifa for one of the companies. Would you, for Arcadis, right? I'm sorry about the
Yeah.
pronunciation. I hope it's right.
It's Arcadis.
Arcadis, I'm so sorry. So,
No, that's fine.
yeah. So I would love to show that artwork while you describe the philosophy of it.
Yeah. Show them the reception
Yes.
first, the other one. So this is a company called Arcadis, and I had worked in collaboration with Team One Architects on this project. Arcadis happens to be one of the biggest structural engineering companies of the world, and they have worked on iconic structures like Burj Khalifa. And here the idea was to uh, exhibit that, flaunt the tallest structure on the planet that they have designed in the reception area. So uh, again, there was a lot of brainstorming happening, and I remember, this one afternoon I was sitting with uh, the project manager there, and they're all engineers. So he was sitting on a table, and he was just doodling around with a pencil. It was, of course, this sort of an orange colored pencil, and that's where this whole idea came from. So pencil is where pencil sketch is where the entire idea starts from. So pencil is taken as a kind of a base of the idea, and what you see on the tip of the installation is actually uh, a to the scale 3D printed Burj
Oh,
Khalifa.
lovely.
So the tip of the pencil, yeah. And actually on site, how it happens is the pencil comes down from the ceiling, and on the base there is a mirror. So when you're approaching that pencil, it looks like a interesting piece. When you're approaching the pencil, the inverted Burj Khalifa reflection actually starts emerging in the mirror with the clouds around. So yeah, you play around with these ideas again, conceptually.
Wow,
You work with the
that's
companies.
very
Yeah.
interesting. That's really lovely. And conceptualizing the whole thing in the pencil, I think that's quite interesting. Wow, that's something which not everyone can think of. So, yes. And you had also worked for, you had worked on the theme of Gandhiji, where, you had come up with a
Right.
series of it. So, I would love to know more about it.
So this exhibition was called Uncamouflage, and yeah, so that's one of the canvases. It was a
Yes.
collection of 150 canvases, and so
These are the collections, yeah.
that's actually exhibited at, yes. So this is exhibited at Mani Bhavan right now,
Lovely.
and it's still there after the lockdown. Yes,
Wow.
150 artworks. So again, here the idea started with me noticing that a lot of youngsters are uh, wearing camouflage patterns,
Yes.
either on their t-shirts or pants, or even the bags,
Yes.
shoes. And this, I started questioning uh, this choice, because I found that even internationally, um, the fashion houses are also accepting camouflage, almost like the black color. Like, I mean, with a slogan that camouflage is the new black sort of a
Yes.
thing. So, you can easily use it and it blends with almost everything,
Yes.
sort of a thing. And I was questioning this idea that how come, be it a village or a metropolitan city like Mumbai, the youth is wearing camouflage everywhere. And camouflage for me represents violence. It's like an expression of official violence
Okay.
because it talks about war, military, and so somehow, when you're wearing so much camouflage, it somehow says that violence is in fashion, in a subtle way.
Okay.
Uh, so this particular exhibition was designed. It started with this thought. So it has 150 camouflage patterns,
Wow.
which represent 150 countries. So every country has its own camouflage pattern,
Interesting.
uh, and so every canvas has a background, which is a camouflage pattern of that particular country, and that is overlapped with an image of Gandhiji. So basically, official symbol of violence is overlapped with an official symbol of non-violence or peace. That is
Interesting.
Gandhiji.
Interesting.
And yeah, so this was supposed to be a traveling exhibition, a couple of countries starting from Germany,
Lovely.
but because of the lockdown, it will probably happen in the future.
I
It's
think it
now
started
at
during the
Mani Bhavan.
first wave. I remember
Yes,
I was
yes,
following your camouflage series while you were posting them on Instagram, and I think the first wave started immediately after that. So I
right, right.
remember that. And I'm sure I'm going to be posting the pictures on Instagram, and I'll surely be editing this video where I'll be getting better pictures posted while cutting it short while you're talking
Sure.
about it.
Yeah,
So,
yeah,
yes. And the reason I've kept this as a live, the reason being if anybody later on would want to ask any questions, they can ask later on. So, yes.
sure, sure.
So, I think we have done with the questions which I needed to ask you. So, I wanted to ask you, do you have any advice for young artists and calligraphers?
I've never been a calligrapher, even though
Yes.
I've taken up some classes. Uh, so I think calligraphers like uh, Achyut Palav
Achyut Palav, yes.
and
Yes.
Santosh Shirsagar. I think these two calligraphers. I've taken
Oh,
classes with
lovely.
um, Achyut Palav.
Oh,
Yes,
I
yes.
think the last
So
time when I had interviewed Bombay lettering company Sanjana Chetalani, she said she had learnt Devnagari from Achyut Palav itself. I think I should really get in touch with Miss Achyut Palav for an interview next.
I think
Yes.
you should do that. Yeah.
And also,
But about
yes.
no. So um, I think these days advice is a difficult thing to give because youth today probably knows what they are up to and what they want to do. And I don't think they want to replicate the kind of life I have lived because I've lived in a particular era and the technology has gone somewhere else. The ideals, the values have also kind of shifted. So I don't think it's the time to really kind of give advice unless someone is really coming for advices. But
But
yeah,
I think why not? I think a lot of youth, a lot of people, from younger generations, they have come to Kala Ghoda festival. They've seen the exhibition, and with the artworks and installations which you create, it is quite inspiring. I think the Google installation which you have created, having motherboard along with it, I'm sure not many, even though not many people would be able to think about it, you know. So it's very different. The conceptualizations are very different, though. Even though it's a digital age, I'm sure that something which you can see and something which you can touch is something which is very inspiring. So I'm sure that
true.
yes, a lot of youth do really admire you. Yes. Also, would you
Glad to know that.
also would you have something which you can speak about the kumkum on paper? You had created something which had kumkum on paper, something like this, which you have
Yes.
created.
Yeah. So this is in fact my first series of artwork. Before this, I had dabbled with different ideas, but never worked on a series. But this was the first powerful series I think I've done.
Lovely.
And this was probably 15 years back, 15 or 20 years back, I think. And the idea behind this came from the thought. I belong to a design school, and being from a design school, you're influenced by the Western design culture.
True.
And you also learn about the Western designers when you're studying.
Yes.
So you don't really have a reference point. Being an Indian, you don't have a reference point of Indian design as such. And, you know, uh, when I went to London, I was looked upon as an Indian art, Indian designer.
Yes.
And they wanted to know what I can bring on table as an Indian. And that was a big question mark that I faced because I think it was an embarrassing thing to talk about the Western artists and designers in front of the Westerners. You know, it's almost like talking about a pizza or a pasta to an Italian. You can't talk about it to them. And so when I came back, I was searching and I thought, I have to just look around my environment to come up with something interesting, which is Indian.
Yes.
And so I remember clearly one day there was a puja happening, and the Panditji poured water on a plate of kumkum. The moment he poured water, the kumkum went dark red, and there was a particular aroma that it gave out. And this experience kind of, left a deep impact on my mind. And I felt that kumkum was, so being a Brahmin, and we also stay inside of the compound of a temple.
Yeah.
So very much connected with these rituals uh, of the temples. And so kumkum, I felt, was kind of deeply responding to, at a very uh, much more deeper level that I can explain, but it was definitely doing something to me. And that's why I said, let me experiment. So this was a series that I've done with kumkum, and there is no brush used.
Lovely.
It's just done with hands and different patterns which somehow emerge as with a spiritual sort of context.
Lovely.
So these are probably the closest I've been to calligraphy, I can say. But there is no cut nib
Wow.
or anything. It's basically hand used as the brush basically. And
Interesting.
I had in fact much larger pieces, starting from the fingertip to the hand to the entire arm, and then
Wow.
the entire body also I've used. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So that's quite amazing. Your artworks instigate a certain emotions. Okay. So I can tell you that whenever you're speaking about your artwork, it's actually instigating an emotion within me as well. And I'm sure it's instigating certain emotions with the viewers here. So right now, we have only 7 minutes left since we started. It's going to be 1 hour at 6:30. So I would like to ask if the audience has any questions for you.
I'd be happy to answer.
Yes. I'm sure a lot of them are going to come up with questions, so we will wait. I think the video and it's not going parallel with the connection. So, okay, our first question. Oh God, there are a lot of questions. 1 second, suddenly. How important is it to be conventional as well as use of technology in art?
Sorry, can you repeat the question for me?
So, the first
It's
question.
vertical and I
So
can't.
sorry. I think I'm going to read it from here.
No, that's okay.
Because
That's okay.
the video is playing on live on my phone as well. How important is it to be conventional as well as use of technology in art?
The best thing about art is it's a It's a pursuit towards freedom. Unlike other professions, you are actually looking out for a kind of a freedom of expression. So nothing is important, I would say, in art,
Yes. Yes.
unless you make it so. And that's the freedom that you enjoy being an artist, which other professions don't allow. So that's a privilege of the artist of you know working with freedom.
Lovely.
Having said that, I think with the technology that has come in, uh, I think technology has always been welcomed by artists. It is probably the viewers that don't accept, because a lot of times I talk about the art, ancient art, and the carvings on the temple, and detailed carvings that you would find, and no one does it now. And there's a reason, because no one does it because it doesn't excite anyone anymore. It's done to death now. There have been so many temples carved out, and a lot of times the viewer appreciate the labor put behind that work. But as I said, we have left that age behind where the skill or the sweat or the labor which is put in is considered an art form. I think art is much more subtle and much more finer than just the number of hours or the labor or the skill that you put in carving a stone. So uh, so I think we should welcome the technology, but at the same time, the art shouldn't start and end with the technology itself. If it becomes that, then uh, if it is not backed by an idea, then it becomes just sort of a craft. I would not even a craft. I would say it's basically a design element.
True.
So there is a difference between art and design, and so it becomes a design element basically. So in using technology, that's the only sort of a red light, that if it's becoming only a design element, then that's a red light.
True. Well
But
said.
otherwise, I think it has to be.
Lovely. Well said. Well said. That's amazing. Our next question is, how did you develop from interior designer to an artist?
So, to be honest, I've never practiced uh, as a full-fledged interior designer, because early on I realized that I have much more. I lean more towards the art side, and I have much more finer sort of uh, um, finer things to offer to the design world. Um, so I could make out that I have a little different thought process, which of course I can collaborate. So I used to collaborate with a lot of designers because I understand their world, and my solutions or
Lovely.
my artwork comes out from understanding where they are, what they are up to. So it kind of resonates with their ideas as well.
Interesting.
And I kind of found that as my niche, because I understood the interior designers or an architect's world very well. So my father is an architect. Uh, I studied interior design, and then I'm an artist by heart. I understand branding, so I thought I was the best person to get it all together and address this kind of a gap that I saw.
Lovely. Lovely. So someone has asked, what is coming up next amongst your series? What's the next artwork which you're preparing?
There's a series of coins right now.
Okay.
The exhibition is called Iconic.
Interesting.
So it's not iconic, it's iconic. And these
Lovely.
are basically illustrated in similar style. and these are coins from my childhood. So right from 1 paise coin to the current 10 rupee coin, these are all coins illustrated in this kind of a fashion. It's also a kind of documentation uh, of these older coins because I have felt them with my hands, and I think they are no more into circulation. So you just see the images of these coins now.
Interesting.
5 paise coins and all. So it's basically based on that and the memories associated with those coins.
Lovely.
So that's one series.
Okay. So we
In
have
fact,
a
it's gone
last
to
question.
the to bitcoins also now.
Interesting.
Yeah, so that older coins uh, are probably going to end with a series of cryptocurrencies. And
Lovely.
these are also coins, but they don't exist in the real world, which is again a different fascinating thing about these coins.
Lovely.
So bitcoins and litcoins and other coins also.
That's really very interesting. I think we are running out of time, so I'll take the last question. Why art on Ambassador? Even I'm intrigued. Why art on Ambassador?
Two reasons. One is I had bought an ambassador I couldn't drive, so I said better make it into an art form for the Kala Ghoda festival that was approaching. So it was like a spontaneous decision I took in a day,
Interesting.
and I've continued this series because uh,
Your voice
it
is
was
breaking.
experiment in consistency of using one particular medium. So I've used ambassador as my medium
Yes.
to sort of tell that story consistently. So at Kala
Lovely.
Ghoda festivals, I said the ambassador is a medium that I use for years, and let's see how long the series continues.
Lovely. Lovely. So I think
And I
we are.
love the ambassador car.
I'm sure we all love to. It's an
So
iconic car. If you get the pun right here.
yes,
From your series to your
correct.
ambassador. Yes. And okay, which is okay. I'm going to take one last question. I think we have 5 minutes more. Which is your favorite art out of all the work that you've done?
So ambassador car series is, uh, I think, Lal
Oh,
probably.
that's mine too, because
Lal
that's
has
when I
become
met
so
you.
popular, and
Yes.
yeah, so Lal has been my favorite. But then when you're working on newer series, that's what excites you more,
Yeah.
and you want to always, keep doing better.
True, 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 true.
Working on a couple of new ideas also.
Amazing,
The
amazing.
next one.
That's amazing, Hetal. I really wish I had you for more time, but we have only 5 minutes left for this interview. So I'll have to immediately conclude this interview sooner. But your interviews instigated a lot of emotions in me, and I'm sure it's instigated a lot of emotions with the audience, where, a lot of them have engaged and have been very curious about your work. I have always been curious about your work years together when I remember that I had come down to Kala Ghoda festival, especially to see your ambassador, the Gadi with coins, which a lot of people were raving about. And that was quite exciting because that time the concept was very new, and still your concepts are new. Every time you create every year, the concepts are always new. So you've made a niche for yourself. So thank you so much, Hetal, for being a part of my platform. It has been an honor having you on my platform. And guys, I would really, if y'all would like to see this interview, I would request y'all to follow God of Onions on YouTube as well as my Spotify channel, which is God of Onions, to see this interview. I'm sure this interview has beautifully gone, which has instigated a lot of emotions in us and inspired us about art. And thank you so much, guys, to be a part of this interview on your busy day and busy schedule. Thank you so much, Hetal. Thank you so much, everyone.